Whoa, buddy. Put that thing back in its holster. We haven't gone anywhere.
I don't understand.
Check out themichaeldukesshow.com for information on how to get access to the podcast.
The Michael Dukes Show.
I have 2 guns, one for each of you.
Firearms Friday.
As Thomas Jefferson stated, it is the right and duty of the people to be at all times armed.
Say hello to my little friend.
I say that the Second Amendment is, in order of importance, the First Amendment. The right to keep and bear arms is the one right that allows rights to exist at all.
The Michael Dukes Show. The right to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed. Firearms.
From my cold, dead hands.
Friday.
This is my rifle, this is my gun, this is for fighting, this is for fun.
Firearms Friday.
Firearms Friday. Hello and welcome to the program. It is the Michael Dukes Show, broadcasting live across the state of Alaska on this, your favorite radio station and/or translator, and around the world at michaeldukeshow.com. Hi, how are ya? How are things going? You guys all ready to rock and roll on this final Friday? Broadcasting live today from Fairbanks. Here as we get ready to dive into it for the Open North American Championships. That's right, the sled dog races that we are, it's going to be good. It's going to be a good stuff. If the Iditarod is the Daytona 500, then the Open North American Championships are the quarter-mile drag racing of dog mushing. They're sprint racing, and these dogs are fast. So today is going to be the first. Today's going to be the first leg of this. There's 3 days of mushing goodness that go on here in the interior. If you want to head on out to the Mushers Hall, the Jeff Stoddard Memorial Raceway, you could come out and enjoy it with us. Supposed to be sunny and beautiful here in Fairbanks. It was a heck of a trip up yesterday. I drove up yesterday, and it was dry pavement and sunshine the whole way. Absolutely gorgeous. So looking forward to a beautiful day here in the interior, and just ready to go, ready to rock and roll. All right, so today is Firearms Friday, of course, your chance to sound off on issues of a 2A nature and talk about the Second Amendment and everything else. It is it's a fun day. Now, I got no guests lined up for today. I've not had much I've not had much luck with Firearms Friday guests the last few weeks. It's hit or miss, and unfortunately, the guests that I thought were going to be calling in today ended up not being able to do it again. So it's all okay. That just means that it's me and you, and possibly me. So we're gonna dive down into it and talk about all these things, all the things related to a Second Amendment nature, and we're going to do Q&A. We're going to take phone calls. We're going to talk about the headlines, and we're just going to basically kibitz about gun goodness. I mean, it doesn't get much better than that. It doesn't. There's not much more you can say about that. So that's what we're going to do. That's the plan for today, anyway. So let me get you involved. Let me get you involved in what we're doing here. Let's go over to the and get the phone line set up. 433-3150. 433-3150 is the phone number. We'd love for you to come on board and be part of it and talk with us. That is the Pivotel call-in line, powered by our friends over there at Pivotel and Satellite West. And I'd love to hear from you this morning. And basically, any topic that's firearms related is fair game. And we could talk about it. And there's a bunch of things that are going on around the state, around the nation, I guess I should say. Although there are a few things that are going on around the state. They were just announcing yesterday that they've arrested a student and charges are being forwarded for a student out in the Mat-Su who went outside the school and at Reddington Junior Senior High School and apparently discharged a firearm outside the school. And so they were able to apprehend the kid, secure the firearm, turn him over to the troopers, and now charges are being forwarded. So maybe we should start there. Maybe we should start with, just the question of, do you know where your kids are and do you know where your guns are? This is not something that I normally would, dive into because I'm pretty, first of all my kids were homeschooled and all my kids were raised with firearms from a very early age. And they have a real severe respect for firearms. My kids do. So maybe I avoid this kind of conversation in this topic just because it doesn't necessarily apply to me, but also because I think maybe it's a little bit uncomfortable. We are all in Alaska. We're all gun nuts, right? Well, not all of us, but, a lot of us are gun nuts. We're part of the gun culture. We love it. We live it. We breathe it. But your kids are facing a lot of things in school these days that some of you may not comprehend, understand, may not be paying attention to. And so the question becomes, if you are, if your kid is in public school and may be struggling with things from, bullying or pressure or, just things going on, the question is, do you know where your firearms are and where your children are at the same time? Are your firearms under lock and key? Is that something that you need to do? Do your kids have an ultimate respect for the firearm? Because ultimately, my friends, because they are children, you are responsible for them. And things like this happen. There was a report of a gun down in South Central, one of the schools in South Central here a couple months ago, where they had captured another student who had a firearm on the campus. And now you've got the one out in the Mat-Su where not only did he have a firearm, he discharged it. Now, was he just showing it off? Who knows? But it is definitely a troubling trend to see some of these things going on. Washington State, was it yesterday? Day before? I guess it was Monday. The Washington State, they avoided a mass shooting in Washington State. And you know what? They didn't even need their red flag laws or anything. A potential mass shooting there was thwarted after an 8th grade student was found in possession of a gun, ammunition, and a hit list. The Moses Lake Police Department in Washington State reported that officers were tipped off by school administrators after concerned students expressed that a classmate was making threats to shoot up the school. Shortly after, officers entered the school, made contact with the student, searched his person and his backpack. They found a pistol, 2 mags of ammunition, as well as a list of targets. Now, this one worked out because people, they talked, they said something, and the school district actually reported it to the police, and the police did something, as opposed to something like Parkland, where that guy had 26 interactions with the local law enforcement and another dozen with FBI already before he went in and shot up the school. But, these things do happen. So I'm reminded again and again and again, he's 13 years old. Where did this kid in Washington State, where did he get this gun? Was it mom and dad's? Did he buy it on the street? If it's mom and dad's, we need to have a discussion. We need to have a discussion about that. And I think we would be remiss if we didn't. You need to know where your guns are and what's going on. So that could be a talking point for today, one of the things that we pick up on. There's also some discussions about some of the new constitutional carry laws, something that happened in Ohio, also safe gun handling, and the fact that you can't defund the police and expect crime to go down at the same time. And it looks like Portland is now living proof of that. So those are just a few of the stories that we can cover this morning. But let's go to the phones and see what you got to see what's going on. Let's go over here and start off. Good morning. Who's this? Where are you calling from?
Good morning, Michael Duke. This is Jeremy in Casilla.
Good morning, Jeremy. What's on your mind?
Well, I have a lot of questions about, as far as felons having long guns or short guns or anything in the state?
Mm-hmm.
Because by state law, you're supposed to be able to have a long gun after you get off probation and parole, and then you're supposed to be able to vote and all that good stuff, right?
Well, you can, if you are a felon, you lose your firearms and your voting rights. But in the state of Alaska, you can petition to get back your rights to own long guns, so rifles and shotguns.
No, that's incorrect. Once you get off probation or parole, you get your rights back. And so this is my firearm question. After 10 years, according to Alaska state law, you get your handgun rights back, but not according to federal law. Now, once you get off probation, parole, and you paid all your fees and fines and whatnot, you get your long gun rights back. Isn't that correct? So,
Yep.
I'm trying to figure out how these troopers figure these laws, because that's got to be a very confusing place to put law enforcement. Like this guy's a felon, he's not supposed to have a gun.
Right.
And then they're like, well, the state law says he can have a gun. So
my understanding
must be a precarious.
Yeah, here's the situation. My understanding is that as a felon, you lose your gun rights per federal law, and they're done. I mean, after you become a felon, you are ineligible. You're an ineligible person.
Marijuana is against federal law.
And I agree. That's the same thing. We've talked about that on the program before, how marijuana use in states that have legalized it also make you a prohibited person for owning a firearm according to the 4473 form. But you're asking about a felon. By federal law, a felon loses all their gun rights, period. Now, in some states, including Alaska, you can petition to have them restored, but it is a process. And my understanding is that, I mean, you've lost your handgun rights forever, because their concern is, of course, concealability and if you're going to be a criminal and blah, 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 blah. But you can petition to get back through the state your long gun rights. Now, that means that, you could only, you still can't go buy a gun from a gun dealer, but you could possess, according to state law.
I'd never buy a gun from a gun dealer.
I'm just saying, I'm trying to answer your question here. So you can go ahead and solicit the state for a restoration of your gun rights inside the state, but it is still illegal if for some reason some federal officer pulled you over in a national park or something and you had a rifle hanging in the back window of your car. You will still show up on the federal database as a prohibited person, and that could get you in trouble. So there is a way to restore those rights, but it's a long and involved process, and it still does not affect the federal way.
I understand it differently, Michael Dukes. My understanding is that as soon as you pay your fines and get off probation and everything, then, you're a free citizen just like anybody else. And you can have a shotgun if you want.
No, that's not how it works. But
that's the way I understand it.
Yeah, that's not how it works. You are a prohibited person. Period. If you're a felon, you are a prohibited person. Even if you're out of jail and everything else, you are a prohibited person according to federal law. Now,
I'm a prohibited person.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I'm just...
Okay. We'll see how that works out at the voting polls.
There. Okay. All right. Well, there you go. Thank you, Jeremy, for calling in this morning. Well, we're up against the break, so we'll take a break and we'll come back and talk some more. No, I mean, I think it's something that should be addressed. If it's a nonviolent felon, I mean, I've got no problem. You've paid your debt to society. You should have your rights restored if you've paid your debt to society and you're not a repeat offender, right? Now, the second time something like that goes on, they need to put you under the jail instead of inside of it. But, yeah, no, I think if you paid your debt to society, I've got no problem restoring your rights. And I think we should, quite honestly. But, all right, we're going to go. We're going to take a break. We're going to be back. The Michael Duke Show continues. It is your home for common sense, liberty-based, free-thinking radio.
Our light, our guide, and our trusted friend.
Michael Duke Show.
Okay. Okay. In the break right now. Go over here. All right. Can you comment on our new ammo store opening at the previous Pier 1 store? I can't. I don't really know anything about it. So I can't really comment on the new ammo store. Maybe I need to go over there and take a look at it. But I can't comment on it because I don't really know anything about it, quite honestly. Sorry. That's how it works. Laura says, are we talking about a kid at Reddington wanting to hurt others or any sort of situation? Well, no, there's not a whole lot of information based on the news reporting. The reporting is that he discharged a firearm at the school. That he discharged the firearm on school grounds. Not inside the school, but on school grounds. So there's really no other reporting on that. I don't think he was threatening anybody. Like I said, I don't know if he was just showing off the gun or anything else. Now, the one in Washington State, the kid had a hit list. I mean, he had guns and he had a list of kids that he had written down that he was gonna do dirty. So that's a little bit of a different situation. Let's see. Good morning. Did you get your beard cut? No, didn't get my beard cut. It does look fluffy and magnificent this morning, but I didn't get a cut. My barber's been out of town for like 6 weeks, and I'm ready to just hurt somebody at this point. I never put stuff in my hair, and this morning my hair is all gooped down and stuff because I hate that. But we're doing what we got to do. Here there was a shooting at the hospital. Which hospital, Brian? Heard there was a shooting at the hospital. I don't know what hospital that is. Somebody's asking is that 12th man? What the hell is a prohibited person? That's the term that the federal government uses for people who are felons and not able to own a firearm. That's convicted felons are prohibited people. Anybody who should not legally have a firearm is a prohibited person. Matsu Regional, huh? I didn't hear about that. I guess I should Frontiers. Frontiersman. What the hell? Come on. Ears. There we go. Frontiersman. Sorry, I don't normally go over there. Body found. Was still dead. This is shooting. Discharged firearm. Reddington High School. La 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 la. Yeah, I don't see anything in here about a shooting at the hospital. I mean, that doesn't necessarily mean it didn't happen. It just, yeah. Okay. Well, we'll take a look. Keep an eye out for that. But I don't see anything in there for the Matsu right now. Oh, it was a suicide. Matt Valley News. Okay. That's a tragedy. All right. So, No, the Pier 1 was here in Fairbanks, Brian. I think that's what he was asking about. So there was a pier. I think it's the Pier 1 up here in Fairbanks was the one that they've got the ammo store going into. All right, we're coming up on the break here. We're about 30 seconds out. And I've got a lot more bells and levers to throw here to get this thing back on the air. So I'm going to be paying attention to that here for just a second. Oh, wow. Dang. Thanks for that, Brian. Appreciate that. I'll follow that story here in a hot second. The Michael Duke Show, common sense, liberty-based, free-thinking radio. Like and share. Like and follow the show page. Subscribe and ring the bell on YouTube. Here we go. Okay. Yeah, sorry about that. Too many bells and whistles and levers to throw when I'm doing all this stuff remotely. So didn't mean to hum you out there with a little bit of feedback, but we're ready to go. Hello. Oh, thank you for being part of the program today. It is Firearms Friday, your chance to sound off on issues of a two-way nature, and we have got we got some phone calls we're going to dive into. We were just talking about some incidents around the state of Alaska, including that student now that's been going on over at the Mat-Su Reddington Junior-Senior High School. Those charges. And then Brian was kind enough in the chat room to throw me the story last night. Apparently, a man yesterday shot and killed himself in front of troopers at Mat-Su Regional Hospital in Wasilla. And it's that's a very, very sad state of affairs. A man shot and killed himself outside the Mat-Su Regional Medical Center early Thursday in front of law enforcement. They were called into the hospital for a trespassing report around 6 a.m., and responding troopers took one man into custody and escorted him out to the patrol vehicles. When they arrived at their cars with the trespasser, a male approached them on foot, produced a handgun, and shot himself in the head. He didn't make any threats or anything else. He just basically, oof, man. That's a rough day right there. Not a good St. Patty's Day. All right, well, let's go over to the phones. Again, Q&A all day. No such thing as a dumb gun question. Let's go over to the phones and see what you have to say this morning. Good morning. Who's this? Where you calling from?
Michael, this is Ron Murray.
Hello, Ron. Pole. How are you, my friend?
And I use my full name to add to my questionable credibility.
Yeah, but, exactly. And you think Michael Dukes is my real name, you know?
Yeah. But at any rate, the caller raised an issue about felons and firearms, and I would simply state or simply advise that anyone who has question about that, go to the source and consult the 1161-200 series of the Alaska Criminal Code, and it will answer all your questions.
Right. I mean, I guess that was my biggest thing was that, and so you can correct me if I'm wrong here, but I mean, you are, once you're a felon, you're a felon. You're a prohibited person. But in the state, they do allow for you to, again, solicit from the state the ability to get part of those gun rights back, right? I mean, you can petition them to have some of them restored under state law.
The only way I know of to do that is by an expungement of the record requiring a petition to the court and by an attorney. And it is an extremely difficult and expensive process. And in over 20 years in that arena, I don't know of any particular person who was convicted of a felony that ever actually went through the expungement process.
So, again, it's I don't know if this is a don't ask, don't tell situation where if you kept your nose clean and you've got, but I mean, the bottom line is that you show up, if somebody runs your name and you have been convicted, it could be a bad day for you if you have any sort of firearm at that point.
Well, what I used to tell people when I was working up in, I guess it's Utqiagvik now, but it's Barrow, when they would come to me and ask about those kinds of questions, is that I'm not going to tell you what to do on your snow machine or four-wheeler out on the tundra. I just don't want to see you driving through the middle of town with the thing strapped across your back.
Right. Exactly. Don't ask, don't tell. I got it. Now, I mean,
just as an aside,
yeah.
Go ahead.
Well, I mean, it's a tough thing, Ron. This is something that I've always had a little bit of heartburn with. I mean, you can comment as former, as a former kind of law enforcement, you can comment on this, but I've always thought if somebody did something wrong and they weren't obviously like a hardened criminal repeat offender, but they 15 years ago they had something that was a felony deal, but they paid their debt to society, they did everything else. I mean, I think that there should be a path for them to have their rights restored, and it shouldn't be so onerous that they've got to mortgage a house and hire a fleet of attorneys to get it done. You know what I mean? If you've paid your debt to society, then you've paid your debt to society. It shouldn't hang over your head for the rest of your life. If you did something, especially if you were, in your early 20s or late teens or just a young adult kind of thing, it shouldn't affect you in your 50s kind of thing.
Yeah, I can't say that I disagree with you on that. There were a number of people that I came in contact with that fell into that exact category.
Yeah. No, it's frustrating.
So,
it's frustrating to me to watch.
I will leave you with one little incident.
Okay.
We used to have a form that folks would fill out, about 4 pages worth, sort of an informational thing, in order to have a starting point for a pre-sentence report. And I had this one fellow that had been arrested for possession of an automatic weapon.
Okay.
And anyway, he filled out the form and came in for the interview. And he told me that he found the weapon out on the tundra and had no idea that it was a fully automatic rifle or capable of being switched to that.
Right.
And I looked through the information sheet and I said, now, come on, don't tell me that it's raining, because it says right here under military history that you were an airborne ranger.
Yeah. Yeah, you may want to rethink your story at that point. Yeah, no.
Exactly so. You have a great day, sir.
All right. Thank you, Ron, for calling in. I appreciate you being part of it today. 433-3150, 433-3150. If you would like to sound off, now is the time to do it, and talk about anything that you want. But again, this has been something that's always bugged me. The whole, again, as I said, the felony thing. If you are paying a debt to society and you have, done your thing, done your time, restitution, you've gotten out of jail, you've been, you're gone through your parole, the whole thing, and probation and all that, then I fully believe that if that's it, this shouldn't hang over your head for the rest of your natural life. You should have your rights restored. That should be part of the incentive of rejoining society. I would say that one of the things that has led to, kind of a higher recidivism rate is, again, still treating a lot of these people, like second-class citizens. They supposedly have learned their lesson, and until they prove differently, then we should trust on that. Now, if they do prove differently and that they haven't proven, they haven't fulfilled that, then yeah, then you throw the book at them, and then they lose it forever or whatever. But I've always had a hard time with that, because how can you ever reintegrate into society if those kind of things just hang over your head for the rest of your life? 433-3150, 433-3150 is the phone number. I'd love to hear from you guys and see what you have to say. Prohibited people, says Laura. I would think the word police would think that was harsh. Maybe we should call them other than honorable. I mean, it's not my word. It's not my phrase. It is, that's what the kind of the law enforcement jargon is, a prohibited person, Prohibited from what? Prohibited from owning firearms. That's the technical term. But yeah, I mean, I think that if we do the right thing, then they should. But I mean, there is so much messed up these days. We could talk about this stuff for days and days. Let's go back over to the phones and see what you have to say this morning. You're driving the bus on this Firearms Friday. Good morning. Who's this?
Hi, Mike. Jeff from Homer.
Morning, Jeff.
I just started listening to you about the federal laws and stuff. And, most of the people that make these rules don't have any understanding of it, number one. And number two, I know more felons that have guns that, you ain't stopping them. There's just no stopping all that stuff. So, and it's a fact that I've known for years handling law enforcement agencies and different things that you don't catch 1% of the people that do anything wrong anyways. So there's a lot of felons out there that never got caught still holding guns. So,
right.
Think about that one. Just serial killers alone across the country, there's more of them than they could ever solve.
Well, I mean, that's the thing, Jeff, is that they call them criminals, right? I mean, this is what always bugged me about.
Right.
Like you said, we know felons who own guns, but the thing is, you may know somebody that had a felony when they were 21 and now they're 51, and they still have guns,
right.
And it's different than some guy who's, criminals are going to break the law anyway. All you're doing is making harder
right.
for people who are trying to be law-abiding citizens, who are trying to reintegrate into society and everything else. If they're going to be bad people, nothing's going to stop them. If they're just trying to live their life
right.
and go hunting or go, target shooting or protecting their family, that's a whole different deal, And I that's why it's always rubbed me the wrong way.
Well, here's something you'll never see. You'll never see a study on how many felons that were like you're talking are out there today that still don't have guns that could have and never harm anybody again. But how many felons that have had guns and been in trouble and are still in trouble and they still have guns? You don't hear that, all right?
Right.
They just want you to know about the guy that went and shot somebody or flipped out, the one case, the one big one that sticks out, to try to take guns. So you'll never see a study on people that have had one felony over their lives, and 10 years later they haven't even got a parking ticket, been a perfect citizen. So they've learned, and when you go into criminal justice and you go into, the people that handle all these people coming out of jail, you'll see that they're trying to rehabilitate them. So they're not doing their jobs. They're not rehabilitating these people because they
right.
can't have a gun,
right.
obviously. So you'll never see a study like that ever, and that's
right.
my point. And they know there's a lot of people slipping through the cracks, but they don't care about that. All they care about is the political side. This is totally political, just like everything else in this world today, and that's what everybody listens to.
I'm often reminded of John Stossel, his interview, because he did a bunch of interview with people with a group of hardcore convicted felons in prison. And one of the questions that he asked them in this interview, and you can go out and find this on YouTube, but he asked them, how long, once you are discharged, or if you leave prison today, how long would it take you to go get a gun? And they said 30 to 90 minutes. 30 to 90 minutes, these hardcore criminals could leave the jail and go get a gun. So this is not about one more law, right? Because they're criminals already.
Exactly.
All you're doing is impeding the reintegration of society of people who have paid their debt. And it's not just firearms, it's not just voting rights, it's it's how they're kind of treated as they get back out. You've heard people had a hard time getting, they got out, but they couldn't get a full-time job because this stigma followed them everywhere. I mean, yeah, that's part of it.
Right.
It just, anything we can do to reintegrate people into society makes the recidivism rate go down.
Exactly. And I'll give you case in point in Maine, when we put in constitutional carry here about, I don't know, 8 years ago now, Paul LePage was in, we had 2 senators who were dead against it, and they were on the board to help, to listen to everybody testify. We had a bunch of people come down and testify. They all got 5 minutes. I got like an hour. But one point I made to them, which I know changed their minds because they told me so, was, look, guys, I'm going to look around the room, and your vehicles are all here. So I know there's 5 guns in the parking lot that aren't supposed to be here, and you guys are in charge, okay? And I'm positive there's some in this building, all right? But I'll give me a $100 bill, every one of you. I'll be back before this interview is over with guns, illegal guns, but
Right.
I can buy them. You want to see them? Give me the money. I'll go do it right now.
Right.
Okay, there's no question about everybody can get a gun. You're not stopping anything, but you're taking away the rights of the average citizen like myself to protect myself during my daily deeds.
Yeah.
I carry a gun all the time as a guide.
Yeah.
I learned things like you can't carry it in a holster because you're going to get limbs and brush, baiting baits and doing this, and it's a pain in the butt getting in the truck. If you walk in the bank, everybody's wound up about it. Put it in this vest I got on right here. I had an empty holster in there, and I said, there it is. Nobody can get it from me. Nobody knows I got it, and it's not a big deal. So this is the best thing we could do. We called it the jacket law.
Yeah. No, I just got to tell you, it's criminals by definition, Jeff, are going to break the law because that's why we call them criminals. That's the whole point. Jeff, thank you for your call, but we are up against the break. I've got one more call on hold. We're going to jump into it with them here in just a moment. So don't go anywhere. The Michael Duke Show continues. Your home for common sense, liberty-based, free-thinking radio. It is Firearms Friday. We'll be back with more right after this.
What is that?
Common sense. Regularly heard on American radio. Michael Duke Show. Radio.
Okay, we're in the break right now. Sorry, there are a lot of different switches that you got to push here to make this happen. Jeff, I just dropped Jeff from the call, and we got one more call over here. Good morning. Who's this? Where are you calling from?
Hey, Mike. It's Fred. How you been?
Hey, good, Fred. Hold the line, my friend, and I will be right back to you. You will be first and foremost when we return to the radio here. Don't go anywhere, okay?
Okay, thank you.
All right, Fred's going to be back with us here in just a hot second. We're going to be joined by Fred in Rhode Island. Okay, let's see. We are all felons. 3 felonies a day. Oh man, I interviewed that guy, Harvey Silvergate. I interviewed him like 20 years ago when that book first came out. And it's right. I mean, the average person in this country goes to work, eats, sleeps, drinks, and does everything and commits several federal crimes a day. It's just disconnected from regular law. It is a fascinating read. And Brian dropped the link into the chat room. So how many screens are you looking at, and do your eyes get sore? There are 1, 2, 3, 4 screens in front of me. Right now. So yeah, it's definitely a tough situation this morning trying to get it. And the thing is, I've got 2 different boards. I've got 3 mice, 3 keyboards. It definitely makes for an exciting morning. It's not dull. Let's put it that way. Okay. Can possess black powder. Yes. Convicted felons can possess some, I think, I don't know if they can, I know that black powder rifles is a for sure. Let's see. MD, could you touch on your method of teaching children gun safety to your children? Looking for more ideas. Okay, yeah, I could do that. We could do that here when we get done with Fred. We'll talk with Fred first, and then I will tackle that for sure, All right, now I'm looking what's going on here. Oh, something got broke over there, didn't it? Okay. 3 minutes left. So I feel like I'm scattered here this morning. What are you guys doing this weekend? You know, you look nice today. Your hair is combed even. Oh, man, that's disconcerting. Everybody's mentioning my beard and my hair. I don't know what the deal is, but I did put some goop in my hair. I never put goop in my hair because usually my hair's short enough it doesn't matter. It's usually high and tight, but my barber's been on vacation for like 6 freaking weeks or something. Well, I lied. He's been on vacation for 4 weeks, but I had already put off getting my hair cut for a while, and then all of a sudden he was on vacation. So I can't even get my hair cut until a week from Monday, which it's just I've already trimmed my own beard, which is always dangerous. But usually it's, high and tight all the way around. So I don't know. I don't know why it looks so good other than I put goop in my hair, and I never do that because I hate it. But, it is what it is. Can you drop the link? Oh, for the felony book in the chat room. Yeah, let me do that real quick. They dropped it. Brian put it into YouTube, or on Facebook, but let me put it on YouTube and Twitch there. All right. There you go, Gordon. You should have a chance to see that right there. Building my propane forge that just arrived. Oh, man, I'm coming to your house, Jimmy. My son wants to learn how to – he has an interest in forging, knives and stuff. He's interested in the whole blacksmithing and knife making and all that kind of stuff. We watched the Forge by Fire thing, and man, some of the forges and stuff that some of these guys have in their shops, it's pretty amazing how primitive they are, and they still come out with some pretty cool stuff. So, that's a good question. Jonathan just asked a good question, which we're going to have to get back to here. So we'll be back to that here in a second. I got a couple more lines on hold. Fred is still on the line with us, and then we've got one more, so we'll take that after Fred, and then we'll start talking about some of the other stuff. How about that? Okay, I got to prep myself. We're 20 seconds away. I got to make sure I mash all the buttons in the right order. So don't go anywhere. The Michael Duke Show continues. Please like and share this video. Like and follow the show page. Let's get back into it. Here we go. All right, here we go. Really. All right. Welcome back. The bells and whistles. All right, we got it all squared away here. We're ready to jump back into it with Firearms Friday. We're taking some phone calls and seeing what you guys have to say. We've had some lines on hold, including our friend from Rhode Island. He calls in every week. We love listening. We love hearing from him, and we love the fact that he listens to us all the way from across the country. It's our brother Fred in Rhode Island. Good morning, my friend. What is on your mind today?
Hi, good morning, Mike. The whole thing with something that's been on my register for many, many years, actually. This whole thing with criminals and guns. A lot of it I can trace back to the judicial system and how broken it really is. I mean, it is a mess. We got judges that they don't they're not delivering proper sentencing, which is in certain circumstances it's justified for an individual to carry a gun, because life may be in danger, and no one else is going to help him. The police aren't going to help him or anything else. So, but then again, on the other hand, the punishment aspect of the judicial system is it's just totally broken the way I see it. You got people, especially like places like New York City and Detroit and Los Angeles and all the big cities with the Democratic governors and mayors. they just sit there and they just totally ignore, the fact that, punishment deters crime. I mean, saying you have to be sadistical about it, but then again, on the other hand, you have to be effective with it too.
Right, exactly.
In a justified means. So I sit there and if they don't sit there and have adequate sentencing, you're not going to get any real effect and atonement out of this. And so the Democrats, they come up with this aspect that will take everybody's guns away, or take away the evil assault weapons and the high-capacity magazines and the guns that have bayonet lugs and all the other nonsense that's really going to make a big difference in nothing. This is their aspect of it, where, pardon me while I laugh, aspect is, these clowns come up with this whole thing where they just want to take guns away, period, so they can maintain a level of control at some future date, with Soros and the rest of the clowns out there pushing all the buttons, and you get buffoon Biden out there dancing to their whim.
Well, it's
really a shame.
Yeah, it's where they're blaming the firearm or the mechanism versus blaming the actual actor, the person that's doing it. You know what I mean? Oh, poor Johnny, he's a victim.
Exactly
he's not really an aggressor. He's a victim. It's because this gun showed up that somehow, and you could see that. I mean, we got a story today out of Portland, where the homicides in Portland are out of control. And why is that? Well, part of it is because the judicial system in Portland has become a revolving door, where they're letting people out on bail, after they've committed another crime, and then they go back to commit another crime because they're out on bail. It's all these kind of things. I mean, why are we focusing on all these stupid gun laws that criminals are not going to, they're not going to pay attention to anyway? And why not spend some time making sure that we can get these, spend some money on the court system to put these people in jail? That's the question.
Well, logic and common sense tells you it's the criminal that's doing the evil deed, not the gun, not the tool, but the person who uses or abuses the tool is the one who's responsible for it. So they should have proper sentencing. My point is, they should have proper sentencing. I mean, something like, if you get caught with a gun, you're a felon, you're a convicted felon, you get caught with a gun, 5 years, no more plea bargaining, away the firearm.
Right.
No, I mean that's like Reagan's drug policy, zero tolerance. Zero tolerance for possession of a gun by a felon. You use that weapon, you just double your sentence. So if they were going to give you 10 years, now you get 20 years plus the 5 years. You get 25 years for committing a robbery with a gun as a felon. But on the other hand, the sword of justice cuts in both directions too. You mentioned earlier about having your record expunged. Well, they make it a very difficult aspect, a very difficult process to have your record expunged. They should look at that at some point in time, and if the person is earnest in the fact that he wants to clear his name and live the rest of his life on the right side of the law, in a proper manner, then he should have the opportunity to do so. As long as he's, like you say, as long as he's not a repeat offender.
Yeah.
And he should have the opportunity, and they should lighten that process up a little bit, make it a little easier. But he still should have skin in the game. By no means should it just be handed to him on a silver platter. So he's got to put an effort in. He's got to community service. He's got to do this. He's got to do that. But if he meets all the aspects and proves himself, then yes, why not? Why not? Why not? That part of it I can see, because there are a lot of people who are, I won't say wrongly convicted, but like you say, a white collar crime, it's something stupid.
Right, or they do something when they're very young and it affects them for the remaining 60 years of their life, kind of thing. I mean that there needs to be a way forward out of that.
Well, that would I say that, and take it on a case by case basis, And, make it easy.
Well, that's the thing.
Easy.
Look, Fred, you can't do cookie cutter laws, right? You can't do cookie cutter laws where one size fits all. Each case is unique and different. And yes, there could be modifiers like, hey, you get an extra 10 years on your sentence because you're a felon and you were found again in possession committing a crime with a gun that you were prohibited from having. You're right. There should be escalators built into that. But you can't just have you're right. It's got to be case. That's we trust the law enforcement and judicial system with some discretion, and it should be used in both directions, right?
Yep.
So
sure. Well, that's the whole thing. I mean, I don't understand the aspect of why the libs want to soften up the sentencing and make it revolving door, because there's no penalty. There's no there's no reason for an individual, a criminal, to sit there and change his life around. I mean, he just go right back. You let him out, and he goes right back to doing exactly where he left off.
I think a lot of it has
nothing to deter him. But then again, if he's up against the wall, he has no choice. If he's going to go away for 25 years, he may think twice about it.
I think a lot of it has to do with victimhood, Fred. They feel like these people are not really responsible, that they're victims of society and the oppression and the patriarchy and the white privilege or something. There's always some reason why these people shouldn't be responsible for their own actions. Somehow it's always society's fault. And that's what a lot of these more liberal progressives feel. And it's not Johnny's fault that he became a thug and did a home invasion and hurt somebody. It's really society's fault, and that's part of the problem. Thank you, Fred. It's good to hear from you, my friend. Thanks for calling in this morning. We got time for a couple more quick calls. If we get to them here, let's go over here. Good morning. Who's this? Where are you calling from?
Jeremy again, just real quick. Like people in Alaska have a right to long guns as long as they're not on probation or anything, as long as they live in a rural area, okay, because we have moose and bear and everything else, and we have a God-given right to protect ourselves, okay, Michael Duke?
Well, I mean, I know that's what you've said, Jeremy, but unfortunately that's not how the law reads. And Ron called in and confirmed that. But again, as he said, he doesn't care what you do out in the tundra as long as you don't drive through town with it strapped to the back of your truck or whatever. Let's go over here. Good morning. Who's this? Where are you calling from?
Yeah, Mayor Brady from Las Vegas.
Hello, Brady. How are you? We got about 90 seconds, Brady, so you're going to have to be quick or you can call back after the top of the hour.
Okay, I'll go quick. You're talking about giving the felons rifles and ammunition to go out and kill people, which they're doing here across the United States. But Zelensky over in the Ukraine cleared out all his prisons and gave all the guns to the former neo-Nazis that they had locked up. That country is 100% Nazi. And this narrative is not getting out there. The media is not telling you what's actually going on there. The Russians are actually liberating the Ukraine, and they're destroying the New World Order, the Jew World Order.
Oh, okay. And at that point, we're done. Because, I mean, that's the thing. How can you put neo-Nazis and Jews in the same thing, Brady, and say, well, they're neo-Nazis and he's a Jew. So it's all part and parcel of the I'm sorry, I can't wrap my brain around it, my friend. I got to go. We're up against the clock. The Michael Duke Show, hour 2 dead ahead. Willie Waffle coming up. We'll return right after this. I mean, they're all neo-Nazis, including that Jewish president. Wait a minute. How does that work again? Like what? There was a narrative going around early on in this whole thing, right? There was a narrative going around in this whole thing at the very beginning where they were talking about how this was, they're pushing back on the New World Order. Russia's saving the world. Russia's an authoritarian regime. Have you not paid attention to what's going on in Russia right now? They're not saving the world. They're not pushing back on the New World Order. They are, these are bad guys doing bad things. Oh, they're saving the Ukrainians from the neo-Nazis. That's why all the Ukrainians are fighting back so hard because, no. That's not how it works. Neo-Nazis with a Jewish president. I mean, yeah. Because not all Jews are loyal to Israel. We have domestic enemies, and so did they. Pharisees turned Jesus over to here. Again, Robbie, I'll with all respect, this is not a problem of neo-Nazism in the Ukraine. Russia was not coming in to save the Ukrainians from the neo-Nazis. That's not what it was about. Are there neo-Nazis in Ukraine? Probably. There's neo-Nazis in the United States, but they're not through every level of government, and this whole thing about the Jew world order and everything else, the anti-Semitic rants about how they're some people just got to find a boogeyman. And I'm just, the boogeyman is government. I'm just going to tell you right now. The boogeyman is government. That is the boogeyman. That you should all be, instead of picking out, people based on race, creed, religion, color, the boogeyman is government. They revel in that kind of stuff. We are playing both sides. We made Russia rich and then gave $12 billion to Ukraine. Americans don't want war, but our government does. Well, we were playing a stupid game of chicken. I mean, if you follow what happened in the Ukraine after the collapse of the Soviet Union, you understand. I mean, Ukraine was kind of the pawn in the middle between the West and the East. Over that kind of stuff. And then they denuclearized, and they did that, and we had the accords and everything else. And then we said we'd never offer them NATO membership, and then we started dangling, NATO membership in front of them, and blah, 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 blah. I mean, we've got to, we have some responsibility for what's going on in Ukraine. There's no doubt about it. If we had just basically said, no, you're never going to be a member of NATO, and stop dangling that out there, it was, there's some problems there. But to say that this whole thing is about some kind of neo-Nazi takeover of the, no, I'm sorry, I don't buy that. I just don't buy that. So, and I know that there's been talk about the biolab. Somebody just mentioned the biolabs. And, yes, there were biological laboratories over there funded in part, I guess, by the NIH and some other organizations. Were they secret biolabs? Were they secret weapons development facilities? I don't know. But let's just say that nobody deserves what's going on in Ukraine right now. None of the Ukrainians do anyway. Is it something that America wanted? I can't speculate on that. I don't think so, but, who knows? Who knows? President Zelensky was an actor before he was president, just saying. Well, so was Ronald Reagan. I mean, I think Zelensky has done a fine job of stepping up, personally. But, I mean, people can read things into stuff that I could never see anyway. I tend to take things, so many different stories going on out there as to what's really happening. The bottom line is I really don't care. That's, I really don't care at all at this point. All right. Where are we at? We're 2 minutes out from the top of the hour and getting ready to jump back into it. These shows are always exciting these days when I'm broadcasting remotely because, he sent home just 140,000 volunteers that says he had troops returning from post-operations, yet we're seeing video footage of us taking supplies that the U.S. sent. Who knows what we're seeing, Jonathan, quite honestly. And I keep seeing that number of 140,000 troops. I guess I'll have to go. Again, I don't care. But there you go. We're all going to get all turned up about it. Instead of paying attention to what's going on in our own backyard, we'll see what's going on over there. And, dive into every conspiracy that's going on out there. We live in a world of misinformation at this point. I just assume everything I see is false at this point. Okay. Well, I guess we got to go. There's something broken over here that I could see. And then I guess we'll jump back into this. The Michael Duke Show. Common sense, liberty-based, free-thinking radio. Like and share the show. Like and follow the show page. Let's get back to it. And we're going to jump back into the phone calls as well. Here we go.
Buddy, put that thing back in its holster. We haven't gone anywhere.
I don't understand.
Check out the MichaelDukesShow.com for information on how to get access to the podcast.
The Michael Dukes Show.
I have 2 guns, one for each of you.
Firearms Friday.
As Thomas Jefferson stated, it is the right and duty of the people to be at all times armed.
Say hello to my little friend.
I say that the Second Amendment is, in order of importance, the First Amendment. The right to keep and bear arms is the one right that allows rights to exist at all.
The Michael Dukes Show. The right to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed. Not be infringed. Firearms
From my cold, dead hands.
Friday.
Here's my rifle, this is my gun. This is for fighting, this is for fun.
Firearms Friday.
Firearms Friday, your chance to sound off on issues of a 2A nature right here on the Michael Dukes Show. It is Friday. Thank you, my friends. Coming up at the end of the program today, we'll be lightening things up. We're going to probably need it by then. We're going to lighten things up and bring our friend Willie Waffle onto the program with us. He's going to be joining us and sharing with us a little bit of our weekly movie review. That's going to be coming up here this morning as we go forward. So look forward to that here in just a few minutes. Meanwhile, the phone lines are open. It is open line, open forum. I got the phone number down here at the right here at the bottom of the screen, but you know it. It's the Pivotel call-in line at 907-433-3150, 907-433-3150. If you would like to sound off and call in this morning, it is gun Q&A all day. That, you know what that means. That means that you and me talk questions. We talk about Second Amendment stuff, and we do all that stuff pretty much all day. There is no such thing, by the way, as a dumb gun question. And so whatever it is that we talk about, as long as it's firearms related, I'm all about that jazz. So feel free to call us up this morning and talk. We've got some headlines and some other things. We had some questions in the chat room. And I got to be honest with you, I don't know the answer to this one. Somebody asked in the chat room, and I'm scrolling backwards. I have a sister that isn't a U.S. citizen, yet she lives here, has been married to a U.S. citizen, and has 2 U.S. kids. Can she own a gun? That's a good question. I've never considered that. I know on the 4473 it asks if you're a U.S. citizen or a resident with a green card. So I'm not quite sure, quite honestly. Maybe one of my callers knows. But I would probably say my guess would be no. As a non-U.S. citizen, you couldn't be. But if she lives here, is married to a citizen, and has 2 U.S. kids, I guess my question then becomes, why don't you become a citizen? Because it's pretty easy at that point. And then you could own a gun. But I don't know the answer to that, Jonathan. So maybe we can find the answer from one of our other callers. Secondly, I had a question from Greg in the chat room, and he wanted me to talk about how I taught my kids about gun safety and, what were the methods that I used. I have discussed this in the past, and I have received some angry emails about it because it's barbaric, I think is one of the words that they used to discuss it. But I'm definitely willing to go over how I taught my children about gun control. It's probably not as bad as you think, but I wanted them to be, to have a deep and lasting respect for firearms. So I was willing to go the extra mile to do some of those things. And so we'll talk about that here in a bit as well. But since the phone lines are open and it's all the news that's fit to print, let's go over here. It's Q&A all day. Yeah, I didn't mean like all day, like I'll be answering. I mean for the show all day. So till the end of the show. Somebody just said when I said Q&A all day, they're like, oh, I can call you all day? No. All right, let's go over to the phones. Let's see what you have to say. We'll start over here. Good morning. Who's this? Where are you calling from?
Morning, Michael. This is Larry.
Hello.
North Pole.
Hello, Larry.
Yeah. You're talking about whoever them people are that are upset about children having firearms, I can remember when I was like 10, 11 years old, I'd strap on a 22 pistol and go to the field with it because we raised rice and we had to walk the levees. Each one of the levees every day had to be walked because of if the levee breaks, then it washes out the rest of the field.
Yeah.
And on the lower levees. And this is down south, and where you've got rice, you've got water. Where you've got water, you got water moccasins.
Right.
And as a I was taught how to properly use that handgun because you had to carry a shovel with you. If you ran across a crawdad hole or a muskrat hole or something that you had to shovel up, it made it difficult to carry a long gun.
Right.
So we strapped on a 22.
Right.
Revolver for snake control.
Snakes. Why do they have to be snakes?
Yeah. I can remember 11 years old going out in the field with, of course, I was a big strapping kid at 11. But heck, I'm still a kid.
Right. You're still a kid at heart. No.
Yep. Anyway, I thought I'd throw in that pitch about the gun show. I got most everything loaded in my truck while I was listening to you this morning and got it sitting there running. Exhibitors can get in at 8 this morning and start getting set up. But I gave you incorrect times to the I keep wanting to call it Joe Nava's, but it's not Joe Nava's Firearms Corner. It's just Firearms Corner now with
Shooter's
Laura.
Corner. Yeah, Shooter's
but anyway,
Corner. With Laura.
It's today. It's from 2 p.m. until 7 p.m.
Okay.
Tomorrow, and this is the gun show in conjunction with the Spring Fling there at the Gottschalk Building.
Right. Shoppers.
On Airport Road.
Yep. Shoppers Forum.
And Shoppers Forum.
Yeah.
Tomorrow it's 10 a.m. This is for general public. 10 a.m. until 6 p.m.
Okay.
And then Sunday is 11 a.m. until 5 p.m.
Okay.
I did not know what those times were, and then yesterday when I was going to get my prescription filled, I drove by one of their sandwich boards, and I said, "Ooh, I made a mistake talking to Laura."
Got it all. Got
Shame
it all.
on me.
Okay. All right. Well,
40 lashes. 40 lashes was a cat of nine.
That's right. That's right. All right. Well, Larry, thank you for the heads up, and thank you for the story. I appreciate you calling in. Thanks for being part of it today. We will we'll talk to you. We'll see.
All
you.
right.
See you later. Thanks, Larry. Appreciate it. 907-433-3150, 907-433-3150 is the phone number. Brian says, who doesn't love a water moccasin? Well, you if you get bit by them. But, yeah, other than that, they're just, they're cuddly. All right, well, let's talk a little bit here about, handling guns and gun safety. Of course, the first thing I did with my children, especially when they were younger, is I had a copy of the Eddie Eagle video from the NRA, which, for those of you who don't know, Eddie Eagle is a gun safety program. It's a cartoon that educates children on what to do if they find a firearm, how the firearm safety laws, the stop, don't touch, run away, tell an adult kind of thing. That was kind of the first, portion of that. And then I took my children to the gun range. And I, with each one, I would allow them to sit down at a bench. We would shoot a gun, and we would talk about the safety measures. Again, reiterating the 4 rules of gun safety, which is all guns are loaded. Never put your finger on the trigger till you're ready to fire. Be aware of what your target is, what is beyond your target. Never point it at something you're not willing to destroy. All those gun safety laws. And that's the mantra, every time. That is the mantra. But what I really found worked in a lot of ways, especially when they were younger, and I'm talking about 7, 8 years old, is that I would, we took We took, colored water in jugs to the range, and we would shoot those, and it's a very visceral thing when something that's colored with red water explodes. And I tell the child, if that was a person, that's exactly what it would look like. That's all the blood that would happen if they got shot with that, it's a visceral a reminder. And the other thing that I would do is that I would edge their hearing protection up over their ears for one shot, usually for their second shot. The first shot they could, they'd hear it, but I would edge the muff up on their ears, and so they have a visceral reaction, right? They hear it. It cracks, makes them grab their head and go, oh. And I would say this is how dangerous these are. They're a tool, but they're a dangerous tool. And that has always served me well. And of course, I've never had a problem with kids, messing with the guns. We've gone shooting. We've done what they wanted to, but they have a deep, abiding respect for firearms. And I think in part it's because I tried to give them those visceral reminders, the exploding red jug, the loud noise, the things that imprinted on them how important it was for them to be paying attention with that. So, Greg, I hope that helps, and obviously demystifying them. Demystifying the firearm and taking them shooting and allow them to shoot and allow them to load and walk them through everything. But again, I think in that early phase, taking that hearing protection off, shooting the jug full of colored water. We've shot, melons, we've shot all kinds of stuff. But reminding them that this is what happens to a human body when this stuff gets hit. And maybe that's an overstatement. Maybe it doesn't look quite as, impressive as a watermelon exploding or a milk jug full of red water exploding, but it does give them that visceral effect, and it really imprints on them how dangerous that can be. When I tie it back to this is if you accidentally shoot your sister or your mother or something like that, if you're not careful, and this is what happens. This is what it would look like, and their eyes get real wide. And I've told this story before and gotten some hate mail that was like, that's just cruel. That's just, well, you know what? My kids never shot anybody. So I guess it worked. That's all I could say right now. So it's important stuff. All right. Gary in the chat room says, only citizens and permanent residents with a green card can purchase a firearm. Non-immigrant visas do not. Thank you, Gary. I suspected that that's what it was, but I appreciate you throwing out that right there and letting us know. You're welcome, Greg. I mean, again, it wasn't like it was some big secret master plan. I just thought that what would impress me when I was a kid? The visceral pictures is what impresses me and impressed upon me, all that gun safety stuff. All right, I guess that's it. I guess I'm up against the break again. Boy, this is the fastest show in radio. I got to tell you, 2 hours, we're already burning through it. One final segment coming up here in just a hot second. And it's one final chance for phone calls before we run the clock out. Willie Waffle's going to be coming up here in a few minutes. And we're gonna be talking with him here as well. It is the Michael Duke Show, common sense, Liberty Base, free thinking radio. We'll be back with more right after these messages. Don't go anywhere.
We're broadcasting live through a series of tubes.
Allowing all of these entities to provide streaming stuff going on the internet.
Well, it's kind of hard to explain. Sorry. Streaming live every weekday morning on Facebook Live and MichaelDukesShow.com.
Okay. I got to turn the lights up here. I just realized how dark it is here. Hold on a second. We'll be right back. Okay, I guess that's better. Also, Greg, the other thing that I did is that one of the first things that I had them shoot, and this may or may not have been correct to do it this way, but one of the first things I had them shoot was a larger caliber rifle. Like my youngest son, his first gun that he ever shot was an FNFAL. I mean, I sat behind him, and he sat, in my lap kind of thing. But his comment was, "Ooh, that's wiggly." So it was a larger caliber. Now, when they went out and we went shooting, then they would shoot like ARs. I've got the 22 conversion kits for the ARs, so they'd shoot like 22s. But yeah, that's the good stuff. Jeremy, I don't know what you're ranting about here. I've already said that I believe that felons should be able to have their gun rights back, and you're just ranting about stuff here. I don't know what you're mad about, but I don't know what you're mad about. Sorry that you're mad. We had a 12-pound 22 long rifle for killing chicken hawks. I did that once when I was 12. Yeah, the little 22s are definitely nice. 410s, I became wickedly accurate with a 410 shotgun. We were waging a war on squirrels when I was a kid. The squirrels were real. They'd get into the sheds and into the garages, and they'd tear stuff up. And man, we made war on squirrels. I remember one summer it was so bad, because the population swings up and down. I remember it was so bad that I think I went through 2 or 3 boxes of shells that year on a little 410 pump action. But I'm pretty deadly with a 410 shotgun. I can make that happen. I'm buying my son a rifle this year for Hunter because he turns 12, and we have teaching him hunting gun safety all his life. Yeah, that's good. I got my first hunting rifle when I was 12, and I love that. Snakes. It's why I live in Alaska. Yeah, I know. Larry's like, it's all that, like, snakes. Why did it have to be snakes? Did your kids happen to participate in 4-H shooting sports? No. By the time we started doing stuff with 4-H, Deshana, we were already through the gun phase of teaching the kids. But then we were learning about, animals and stuff, and that's when we got goats and chickens and everything else. So it was good stuff. State Senator Mike Shower having a coffee hour at King's Donuts in Wasilla at 8:30 on Saturday. Okay. Let's see. It's a pattern. Blah, 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 blah. Taking, okay. All right. I've gone back through some of the stuff. Speak for yourself, says Jeremy. I don't know. I don't know. Why you got to be mad, bro? I don't know why you're mad. I don't know. All right, shoot stuff with a 17 HMR. Yeah, I mean, that's a pretty sweet little round. That's a pretty quiet, sweet. That's a good way to teach kids with 22 and 17 HMR. Yeah, definitely not a bad little round to use for that kind of stuff. All right, I guess we're about 40 seconds out, and I got to octopus all the hands here and make sure that I'm clicking all the right mice buttons and everything else. So hold the line for us here. Please like and share this video if you haven't liked and shared it already. Don't forget to like and follow the show page as well, and to hit the subscribe button and ring the bell on YouTube is the thing. I love their guns, but you don't think I can be trusted with a firearm. That's not what I said, Jeremy. I mean, read into it what you want, guy, but that's not what I said. So, anyway, let's jump back into it. Here we go. Common sense, liberty-based, free thinking radio. All right, welcome back to the program. One final segment of gun Q&A and discussion and commentary and everything else before we jump into it with our friend Willie Waffle, wafflemovies.com. I laid out exactly what I did for raising my kids and what we did there, and Greg just laid out his stuff in the chat room here too, which is also good stuff. I love this. Started my kids out by taking them on hikes, he says. They each carried a stick to simulate a gun. That taught them muzzle control. That's a great idea. I'd never thought of that. That's great stuff. Then they moved up to BB guns. The next steps was 22s, and all my kids now are avid shooters. Yeah, I'm with you 100% of the time. That is a great idea, though. I love the idea of the stick, teaching muzzle control and everything. I love that. That's a great idea, Greg. And next time I have kids, I'm putting that at the top of my. No, you know what I mean. But that's a good way to do it. I love it. I love it. Robbie says alcohol and guns don't mix. Big problem. And that actually leads us up to our next story for the day. And this is, again, one of those stories of, we probably should be paying closer attention to what's going on, and we should be reminded about the gun safety laws. The gun safety laws, the gun safety rules, they're not laws, but it's the 4 rules of gun safety. Of course, is that you always treat every gun like it's loaded. You always keep it pointed in a safe direction, right? You always keep your finger off the trigger until you're ready to shoot, and you're always aware of what is your target and what is beyond your target. That's kind of the 4 basic rules. Well, not only can we be stupid about this, but we could be stupid and then add things like alcohol and drugs to the mix. And that's, we've talked about that here in the state of Alaska, us and whatever it is now, 17 other states that have legalized marijuana and everything else. And, of course, in every state, alcohol is legal. And those are mind-altering substances. And those kind of things, they just don't mix. I'm just going to remind you that those kind of things just don't mix, as proven out by a story out of Las Vegas. The story out of Las Vegas reads like this. A Las Vegas man said he thought a gun was unloaded as he pointed it at his friend, shooting him and killing him, according to the arrest report. Okay, so first of all, the guy violated all 4 safety rules. Right? He didn't treat it like it was loaded. He didn't keep his finger off the trigger. He was aware of his target and what was beyond it. He always pointed it in a safe direction. He didn't do any of those things. Well, now he faces charges of involuntary manslaughter in connection with the shooting death of his friend. The police responded to the apartment of the decedent 7 p.m. on March the 10th to report of a man shot. The first call said he and his friends were drinking when the gun went off, shooting the victim in the head. At the same time that they called 911, police said that he was hysterical, screaming for help. He was heard crying and apologizing to his friend while speaking to the dispatcher. So apparently, alcohol, marijuana were it's just not hard to see. That's like, let me clean all my guns while I'm drinking shots of brown liquor. That just doesn't sound like a good combination. You've got to pay close attention. This is like, I would not get all drunked up and walk into the wood shop and start running table saws and power tools, right? That's not something you probably would be high on your list of things to do, or go work heavy equipment or something, or even climb into and I know there's people that do that all the time, get all drunked up and then climb into their vehicle. I'm not doing that. But that just happened in North Pole this week to a teen, said Gary. I hadn't seen that story, but again, this is very so now that Gary mentions that happened to a teen, then that goes back to what I was saying earlier in the program, which is, do you know where your teens are and do you know where your guns are? So there's a combination, plus all the safety tips of not using mind-altering substances and then playing with your fire. I remember seeing a video here, I don't know, 3-4 years ago, and it was up on, I think it was up on Facebook or YouTube before they pulled it down. I mean, it was an actual picture of somebody in a car. They just got a gun, and they had their friends in there, and they're like, oh, and then one of them actually shoots the other one, like accidentally, right? But it's because they're futzing around with the gun, and he points it and he pulls the trigger and he shoots his friend in the head in this video. It's pretty startling. But yeah, this is the problem. We don't train our children anymore. Well, not everybody. I guess I train my children. You probably train your children, but we're not training the children in general about gun safety. They're learning all their gun safety tips from Call of Duty, right? I mean, that's where they're getting all their gun safety advice, Call of Duty. And you wonder why this kind of stuff is happening. You know, they watch the shoot 'em ups on TV. They watch all the other things, and that's, you wonder why these kind of things happen. Apparently this happened again. Just here in North Pole, a 23-year-old shot a 19-year-old. The investigation revealed that the victim and suspect were friends and had been consuming alcohol and marijuana with multiple juveniles. The suspect admitted he was manipulating the firearm and believed it was empty, pointed it at the victim, and pulled the trigger. I mean, it's insane. Yeah, Alec Baldwin, another. My wife was telling me about a video she just watched of Alec Baldwin. They had a body language expert go over some of his interviews and his testimony on this stuff. And that's the same kind of thing, just the belief that it can't possibly be my fault because I didn't. Wow. No, I cannot stress enough that the 4 gun safety rules are there for a reason. And again, hopefully you know where your children are. You're not mystifying the gun and making it taboo enough that they're intrigued to go do it, that you're teaching them about how dangerous it can be. I hope all those things are happening. So, I mean, that is definitely a lesson. There's a lesson to be learned here in all of this. Again, another person is dead because of just sheer plain stupidity and negligence. That's it. I mean, I've often said, they call it, a lot of times they say something like that, they'll call it an accidental discharge. I am fully under the belief, as I've said in the past, that there is no such thing as an accidental discharge. That an accidental discharge is, while possible through some kind of mechanical failure of the firearm, that most of those are actually negligence instead of accidental. Negligence. And, it's just something that we need to be paying closer attention to, especially as gun owners, because we've got to protect our own passion. We've got to protect our own rights here. Oh, what was I going to talk about? Oh, the Portland thing. Do I have enough time? I got a couple minutes here. Last year, Portland saw a record number of homicides in the city, 90 homicides so far. That's a third above the previous high reached in the 90s. But what are they doing? Are they going to go ahead and they're going to bring in more police and do those things? Nope. They're going to focus on the city's most prolific offenders and spend millions of dollars on social services and other community-based violence efforts instead of putting the people who are actually doing this in prison and keeping them there. Instead, what they're doing right now, and because of COVID and everything else, they said that they are having a hard time trying to get all the criminals through the justice system. And the trials are taking much longer to bring cases to trial, and they're seeing many more repeat offenders because many of them are just simply out on bail and causing trouble in the meanwhile. This is another one of those, unintended consequences of things like defund the police and then be shocked, I tell you, that their crime goes up because they defunded the police. That's the problem. Wait, you defunded the police yeah, that's exactly the problem. I'm glad to see somebody is finally starting to pay attention to this kind of stuff down in the Portland area, because otherwise they could hit the same level of like you see what happened in Philadelphia. Their officers responded to a shooting there. A 38-year-old man was shot 3 times in the chest and the torso, and the shooter fled the scene. And less than a minute later, A woman and a man walked up. They found the 38-year-old victim. The man stole the victim's gun, handed it to the woman. Then they stole their other items and turned out his pockets, and then they fled the scene. Oh, man. That's the kind of people that you want hanging out with you, right? I mean, good Lord. Good Lord. All right, we got more coming up. Willie Waffle's dead ahead, The Michael Duke Show. Common sense, liberty-based, free-thinking radio. Back with more right after
this. Streaming live every weekday mornings on Facebook Live and MichaelDukesShow.com.
Okay. All right. Yeah, Jonathan, we talked about that teen with a gun at Reddington, junior, senior. We talked about that earlier this week. I care again so they don't have to deal with the federal government on anything. Preventable accident. The people that do that stuff never went hunting and had to take a life. Drugs and drinking don't mix. Kids should know about the dangers and the outcomes. No kids. I keep them fully loaded, but I unload them before cleaning them. A gun is useless unloaded, and someone is kicking in the door. That's exactly, I mean, I agree with you, Chris. I mean, my guns in my house, not all of them, but I mean, the ones that I use for protection and everything else, they're loaded. That's how it works. COVID backlog court cases in Kotzebue, sharing DA with OME, which I'm not sure where that is. Couldn't fill Kotzebue position. Jury trials in Kotzebue are a challenge. Yeah. No, they're having the same problem around the world. You know, I mean, we didn't have jury trials in Anchorage and in the Matsu forever. I mean, it's been a long time since they've had that going on. Okay, so what's going on with this? I'm sorry, I got to go fix something here on this right here. What is going on? No, I don't want to do that. Sorry, I'm trying to fix something else over here on the other side. Can I fix that right there? There we go. Let's do that. Copy that. Okay. All right. I think I got that fixed. Something was broken this morning. I was trying to fix it. Gnome. O-M-E is gnome. That's not how I spelled gnome. What the hell? All right. Let me see what else you guys are talking about here. Anything else that I need to read into? I love that idea of the simulated gun with the stick thing, Greg. That's awesome. I'm going to tell my kids about that as they teach their guns about. See, we'll get them. We'll get them scored. I'll integrate that into my day when it's all. Okay. Okay. Thank you. Shoot stuff with this thing. Barrow, Bethel. Preventable accidents. You're filling me full of information, Sean, that I have no use for right now. I'm sure I will probably remember it, but I will. Don't give me useless stuff that I can't use right now. I haven't had enough coffee. I don't have enough coffee on board for that yet this morning. All right. Let's see. You know what I didn't hit? I didn't hit the timer. I have a timer that tells me how long the break is so that I make sure that I time it out between the stations. And now I just realized that I didn't have a timer. I didn't start it because it's like the fourth thing that I have to do after I jump to the radio. These days, like I said, they're always a train wreck. What are you going to do? Grange Hall Children's Art Show tonight, 5 to 8 p.m. at the Grange Hall in North Pole. Okay, good for them. At least I guess I'm streaming on my website. That was the other thing. Did I forget to do that? No, luckily I started that early because I would have forgotten by now. We would have missed the whole show on the stream. But now we remembered, so it's all good. Okay. Whew, I'm about out of steam. What do you guys got going on this morning? What else is happening? I'm just going back here. That's good. That's good training, says Jonathan. Yes, it was. The mainstream media is cheering on this war, too. That has to make you question it. Absolutely. I absolutely question it. I mean, I absolutely question if it was absolutely necessary. Do we need this? I don't think we needed to do this, personally. But, there you go. Homeschoolers are doing different things with kids. Yes, that's the nature of homeschool. That was kind of random, Robbie? Was there something else you wanted to comment on with that made sense? Because that was fairly random, just saying. All right, we are now. I'm trying to time all this out, folks. I'm sorry, my brain is working here. So 1850 listed that in the thing, and then the order of the 15. Okay, all right. Well, I think we got this. I think we got this scored away here. So let's do this. We're 30 seconds out, and we are going to jump back into it. Phone line is now ringing, and that is Willie. Don't call me William Waffle from wafflemovies.com, and I'm going to put him on hold here. Okay, and there we go. So we're going to jump into this with Willie Waffle and continue ahead. The Michael Duke Show. It is common sense, liberty-based, free-thinking radio. Please like and share this video. Like and share the show page. And don't forget to hit subscribe and ring the bell on YouTube. Let's do it. Well, hi there, ho there, hey there. Final segment of the show today as we broadcast live from Fairbanks. Hanging out, finishing up the show with our friend, the one, the only, the man, the myth, the legend, Willie Waffle. Wafflemovies.com. Movie and entertain. I got to change it. It says movie critic. You're more than just a movie critic, my friend.
I've expanded my horizons. I've just reached for the stars and got a handful of stardust.
Wow, you're so dramatic. You're so dramatic. All right. So we're going to hit the entertainment news pretty hard here this morning. First things first, because there's some stuff going on. I don't know. Let's talk about AMC first. I mean, you and I have talked about this several times during the pandemic. That look, these theaters were some of them already struggling, and then the pandemic hit, and oh my gosh, it's bad. So what's the news on AMC here? What are they doing? They diversifying?
This is wild to me. Okay, so AMC Theaters, which remember, like we talked about during the pandemic, was on the verge of bankruptcy. There was even a day where the news was floated that they had filed,
right?
And somehow it pulled back, or it was a rumor and they decided against it at the last minute. I mean, like AMC was deader than dead in the water, and all of a sudden they've made a big comeback. Now, I don't think it was necessarily because of some brilliant strategic moves on their own part. They were kind of the beneficiaries of the groupthink that was driving up their stock price. If you remember all that with the Reddit group that was encouraging everybody to buy AMC stock.
Right. Buy and hold. That was the whole Robinhood thing, right?
Yep. Well, this makes them think they're geniuses. So they have gone out and they have bought a $27.9 million stake in a gold and silver mining company, the Highcroft Company.
Okay.
And they said they've done it because, they know what it's like to be not doing so well financially, but still having some great assets. And they're going to use that knowledge to turn around the Highcroft Company.
Because a movie theater knows everything there is to know about gold and silver mining.
Well, and that's the thing. I mean, like, are they gonna get those guys to start driving up the stock price on this too? Like, are they really hoping that's what's gonna happen?
Right.
I guess at worst, the company's got some good assets. I mean, they've got some gold and silver if things go, nose up, as they say.
Right. No, that's crazy. Well, good luck to them. I mean, maybe they need to find a way to diversify so if the theater side crashes and burns, they at least have something that's going on.
I guess that's the thought. I mean, but I just had to laugh when I was reading the press release, and they're like, well, we know how to turn around a company. I'm like, no, you don't. You got lucky.
Yeah,
you got lucky.
No, that was
you're like one of these guys who like inherits billions of dollars from their grandfather, and you think you're a business genius.
Right. It's, as my old friend Bert said, fortuitous circumstances. Right. I mean, that was what it's all about. Okay. Let's see what else. Netflix, they just keep pumping out some good content, and apparently they've got a deep well now that they're going to dip into. Dr. Seuss.
This is really cool. And I still think Dr. Seuss is awesome, no matter how they're trying to reportray him these days.
Right.
But yes, Dr. Seuss is coming to Netflix. They had a Green Eggs and Ham series, which was on Netflix a few years ago, and they have a second season of that coming up in April. And Netflix is so happy with the relationship, they cut a deal. They're going to be developing series based on Horton Hears a Who, The Sneetches, Wacky Wednesday, One Fish, Two Fish, Red Fish, Blue Fish, and the character Thidwick, the big-hearted moose.
Oh, wow. Okay. I didn't even hear that they'd done a Green Eggs and Ham series. Was it pretty successful?
It was very successful. It actually, it took about 4 years to get onto Netflix, and it was on. I want to say it was like 2019.
Well, I missed it apparently, but some kids are going to get a good experience here with all this Dr. Seuss goodness. He is a genius. I can't tell you how many times I've read One Fish, Two Fish, Red Fish, Blue Fish to my kids. They love that one. So good. I'm excited about it. When are they expecting to have these series up and running?
Well, it did take them 4 years to do the last one. So, at this rate, your grandkids may have grandkids of their own. They might be graduating from college by the time this thing happens.
Oh, great. Okay. Sandra Bullock back in the news. She did not like sequels because she had a couple of stinkers. But apparently, she's given up her. She was on a bender to say no sequels, and now she may have changed her mind.
That's right. As Sandra likes to tell it, back in 2013, she was on top of the world. She had just done The Heat. She had just done Gravity, and she pledged she would never make another sequel again because she had done Speed 2 and Miss Congeniality 2, and if you've seen those movies, you know why.
Right. Exactly.
But according to Sandra, now that she's a little bit older and she knows how to fight for what she wants, she said she's willing to go for it.
And the money.
Well, I was going to put it, cha-ching, I got kids to put through college.
Cha-ching. What is she sequeling, or is she just saying now is this the general announcement to Hollywood that if you want me to do a sequel, I'm up and available?
Yeah, this is the general announcement. So, I started thinking a little bit about what sequels could she do, and I came up with a couple. Okay, so we've got While You Were Sleeping Again. Okay, right. I thought that would be funnier.
Right.
Come on. Okay.
No, I like that. No, I mean, why?
Okay. We've got the Proposal sequel, The Divorce, also starring Ryan Reynolds, who knows a thing or two about divorce.
Oh my God, that would be hysterical.
Yep. And my favorite, The Net 2 5G.
Okay. All right. I like them all. Do it. I mean, the one with Ryan Reynolds and the divorce, that would be, I mean, I'll be honest with you. The Proposal's a pretty funny movie.
It is a very funny movie.
I really enjoyed it. Yeah.
My only regret is they can't bring back Betty White for it.
That's true. But hey, with technology, you can almost deep fake anybody, right? So, who knows? All right. Well, anything else in the entertainment news before we jump over to the streams?
I will throw one quick story out there. This is just one that I like, okay? Rod Stewart wants to drive his Ferrari. And he made it very clear he wants to drive his Ferrari. And the road outside his palatial estate is full of potholes.
Okay.
It is just a rotten piece of junk. Now,
so like downtown Anchorage then. Okay, I get it. Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, in America, he would lean on some politician that he had made a big fat donation to,
right,
and have him fix the road. But no, this is Scotland, and this is Rod Stewart, and him and his neighbors got together and they decided they're just going to fix the road themselves. And so they got themselves a crew, they got themselves some asphalt, and they filled in the potholes on their road. by themselves.
Nice. I mean, did they physically go out and shovel the asphalt, or did they hire a crew and watch while sipping tea?
Well, I think there was mostly a crew that was hired, although Rod did pose for several pictures wearing a very big highlighted jumpsuit and vest, and threw a little bit of asphalt in one of the holes to look good.
Photo op. Okay, I got it. Well, that's how we used to do it. If you wanted to have the roads in your neighborhood fixed, you usually came together and did it. We didn't wait on government to do it, but good for him. I want to drive my Ferrari. I wouldn't want potholes either.
And I just love how all throughout the story he's like, I couldn't drive my Ferrari. My Ferrari couldn't get down the road.
Oh, Lord. Oh, it's
yes,
all good.
We get it, Rod. You're very famous and rich.
We got it, yeah. All right, well, let's talk about the series here. What do we got? We got Apple, Netflix, and Hulu. Where are we going to start?
Well, let's start. Let's start with the Netflix series. This is a new Netflix 4-part series.
Docu-series.
Yep, documentary. Bad Vegan.
Okay, Bad Vegan. Which isn't that all of them? I'm just asking. I mean, isn't it?
Yeah, it's not all of them. It's this one. And this is, I remember when this happened. This was a great story. So her name is Sarma Mengeleas. And she was the toast of New York. Her and her boyfriend started a very famous vegan restaurant,
right.
Pure Food and Wine, and it became like one of those hot spots in New York.
Right.
And all the celebrities would go there, right. And she was making tons of money. And then the boyfriend and her broke up, so she was running the place on her own. And that's when she met Mr. Trouble.
Okay. Who's Mr.
And he convinced her that he was a CIA Black Ops agent.
Oh, God.
And started stealing every penny he could from this woman.
Oh.
And she decided to start stealing, too. She was taking it out of the restaurant. She was taking money from investors and not putting it in the restaurant. She wasn't paying her taxes. She wasn't paying her employees.
But the biggest sin of all the bad things that she did is that they caught her eating cheese
while she was on the run. This is the best part. While she was on the run, they caught her because there was a credit card in her, and the guy ends up becoming her husband.
Right.
There was a credit card in their name, and they made a purchase of pizza and wings from Domino's.
Oh, God.
And this is how the police knew how to find them and come get them. And when they busted her, the pizza box was sitting on the bed.
She was eating the cheese pizza.
She denies that she ate the cheese.
Okay.
She says that the husband was eating it. It wasn't her.
Oh, my gosh. I mean, that's the important part to remember is that she denies it. Because that was the biggest
she denies
infraction.
All of this.
Yeah.
I mean, and this is kind of the part that's really, really, I think, complicated. She is using this series and her participation in it to try to explain that she was the victim, that this guy had brainwashed her, that he was playing mental games with her, he was messing with her, and she was just weak and fell for it. Okay. I don't know if I'm ready to go that far, but it's a compelling story.
Having just watched the Ana de Armas thing or DeVay thing, and then the one about the gal with the blood testing company.
Oh, that's my favorite one, The Dropout.
Yeah, well, I didn't watch the Hulu version. I watched the actual ABC 2020 whatever thing.
Oh, yeah, that's a great episode. Yes, that's very good.
I'm just like, these people, are you not, who is not paying attention to all these people that are scamming everybody? And that seems to be the biggest thing on Netflix and everybody else these days are all these scam things. That's fine. I just want to escape. I don't want to learn about the bad things that are happening around me. I want to stick my head in the sand and be in Fantasy Island or something, but they're loving these kind of documentaries.
Well, yeah, and it's because we want to see these people pay. I mean, and this woman, this Sarma woman, she is the embodiment of a lot of this. I mean, she's extremely gorgeous.
Right.
She is extremely successful. She's on TV. She's doing books. She's appearing in magazines. I mean, she was going to be like one of those massive celebrity chefs until this all happened.
Right, right.
And when you find out that her glamorous lifestyle is being funded by stealing from the employees. Now, she says She was giving it all to the husband.
Right.
And they found out basically, well, I mean, you know he wasn't doing anything good with the money. Let's just leave it at that.
Right. Exactly.
But, she was willingly taking it from the employees. She was willingly not paying taxes. I mean, she willingly took the money from the investors. I mean, I understand you feel you were brainwashed, but you still did all these things.
Yeah.
And even during the story, you see that at some point she's figured it all out, but she keeps going.
Right, exactly. All right, well, we're down to less than 2 minutes. -1 to 4 waffles on the Bad Vegan.
I'm going to go 3 waffles. It's a 4-episode watch. It's about 4 hours long.
Okay. All right, you enjoyed it. That was enough. We got time for a quick hit on one more of these, so pick it.
Let's talk about Deep Water.
Okay.
This is the big Hulu movie with Ben Affleck and Ana de Armas.
Right.
And they were dating when they made this movie, and they held it on the shelf for so long that they've now since broken up.
Oh, okay.
And
of course.
Yeah, it was supposed to come out back in 2020 when the COVID hit, and then Hulu picked it up because I think every major studio went, oh God, we cannot release this thing. This thing is junk.
Right. Oh,
ow. It's billed as a psychosexual thriller.
Oh, that's it. Those are at the top of my list. I mean.
Oh, that's right. Ben Affleck is all mopey walking around because he cut a deal with his wife to have an open marriage, and she's just kind of slinking around all sexy the whole time. That got it 1 waffle.
That got it 1 waffle. That was it right there. That's it, 1 waffle. Well, you know why he was so mopey and everything is because he's Batman. So,
right.
All right, well, 1 waffle. I could live without it. It's fine. Next week, we're going to talk about 1883 and some other stuff that I know you're watching, so we'll get back to that. Thanks for coming on board, my friend. As always, it is my pleasure to talk to you today.
Well, thank you.
No, literally.
I had fun, too.
It's my pleasure. I appreciate it. All right. Thank you, folks. We will see you on Tuesday. Remember, I'm off on Monday. Tuesday. Have a great weekend. Be kind. Love one another. Most importantly, live well. That is the best revenge. Living well. When everybody else around you is going crazy, you just be like, nope, I'm going to just do my thing and love everybody and go home. Thank you, my friends. Appreciate it. We will see you on Tuesday. Have a great weekend. Okay, I don't know, Willie, do we want to take a stab at this last one, this Jared Leto one? Which, I mean, again, I watch this stuff to unwind, not to learn about how bad people are around me. But, again, they're the popular things. We Crashed on Apple TV.
Yeah, We Crashed. This is Apple TV Plus. And, it is the story of Andrew Newman, who founded the WeWork company, which was a co-working space company. Essentially, they would rent out magnificent office spaces and buildings, fix them up, and then you as the entrepreneur or the solopreneur, as they like to say it, could rent a desk for a day, a week, a month. Maybe you wanted to be there 6 months, whatever it was.
Right.
And they were really taking off, and they were spreading all throughout the country and making tons of money. And then they decided they were going to go public. And that's when the truth came out.
The truth came out is that they weren't worth $47 billion, which is what, because they didn't
thought they were worth.
Yeah, they didn't own anything, right? I mean, they were renting all these spaces, so it wasn't like they had a bunch of real estate and property and all this other kind of stuff. And it was all hype.
It was a lot of hype, and as is what we find out in many of these stories, why Mr. Newman might not have been honest with the books and maybe was using a lot of business money for some personal expenses.
Yeah, hookers and blow. You can't write that stuff off.
He had a wife.
Right, okay.
And that's actually one of the funniest parts of the story for people who know it. So the wife is played by Anne Hathaway.
Right.
Her name is Rebecca Paltrow. Yes, she is Gwyneth's cousin.
Oh, Lord. Oh,
yes.
Lord. Were they renting space to Goop? I just want to know. I mean, is it?
But like it comes up. It probably one of the funniest scenes in the entire series when they get married, everybody's like, is Gwyneth going to be here? Is Gwyneth going to be here?
Lord. Oh, Lord. All right, so obviously they crash and burn in the spat. And like I said, it's like one of those things we were talking about earlier in the week, something called Suddenly Subaru, which is like a phenomenon where you decide to buy a Subaru and then all you see on the roads is Subarus.
Yes.
And that's what this is like I watch one of these things with my wife, and now all I see is all these things about how people were double dealing and screwing people and cons and all this other, and it's like it's taken over my stream service, and I'm like, can I just go back to space westerns or some kind of vampire movie or something?
Yeah, but you know what? I hope that as a society we learn a lesson, because
man.
the one thing that always rings true in all of these stories is the deification of this person who started the company.
Oh yeah,
and we've seen it with Steve Jobs, and you see it. You saw it with the dropout Elizabeth, whose name I'm blanking on.
Right, I know who you're talking
who did
about.
the Theranos. We have here Andrew Newman.
Right.
All these people who like all of a sudden are the toast of the town, and they're supposedly brilliant because they had this idea, and then they can't actually run their company, so they can't really get the product to work. And that's when the dirty dealing starts.
Yeah. Well, it's all about the hype. I mean, right? If you go viral, then you can do it. If you go viral, you get the right people behind it. All you got to do is hoodwink one of those people and get them to spin for you. The next thing you know, it's out of control. It's a multi-billion-dollar scam. I'm just, it's like the Tinder swindler and all these other people. I can't even imagine. I can't imagine. But we're going to talk about good stuff next week. We'll talk about 1883, and we'll talk about, I don't know, some of the other ones that are... Huh?
Sandra Bullock's new movie, The Lost City, which looks kind of funny.
Okay, I'll come out for that. We'll talk about that. All right, my friend. Well, it's good to talk with you. We will talk to you next week.
All right, talk to you then.
Folks, I mean it this time. I'm leaving. I got to go. It's dog races. There's dog races today. I'm going to go announce the Open North American Championships, which is like, if the Iditarod is the Daytona 500, this is like the drag racing of dog mushing. So we're going to go have a fun time with that. We will see you on Tuesday. Taking Monday off. Tuesday. See you then.
We've shed our terrestrial radio skin, and now we are slimy lizard internet people. It's the Michael Duke Show.
Michael Duke Show.